Hello friends, my name is Steve Guttenberg and I am the Audiophiliac, and today's show is all about the linear tube audio Z40 Plus integrated amplifier. Now, it's a tube amplifier, absolutely, but it doesn't really sound like a tube amplifier. You know, some tube amplifiers are so voluptuous and rich and juicy and fat and honeyed. That's one kind of tube amplifier that I really love. And then there's some tube amplifiers that are trying so hard to measure well and be precise. They kind of sound like solid state amplifiers, and in that case, who cares? But this one is, I wouldn't even say it's in the middle. It's its own thing. It definitely does not sound like a solid state amplifier. Not at all. But it doesn't sound like tubes. It doesn't sound like solid state. It's its own thing. And that's what makes it so much fun to tell you all about. Now, linear tube audio is based in Tacoma Park, Maryland. That's where all the magic happens, where they put these things together. But the chassis are made by a separate company, Fern and Roby, in Richmond, Virginia. And just the build quality of this amplifier, the total package, is really up there. And it also feels good to use. It's a joy to use. And the sound, yeah, the sound is something else. Now listen, I come from tubes. I lived with Audio Research Electronics preamps and power amps. I lived with Conrad Johnson preamps and power amps, Carey preamps and power amps, and some others I can't even remember. And I've reviewed a lot of tube electronics in my life and solid state. This one, no, it's different. Now, I've reviewed other linear tube audio products. I reviewed the smaller sibling, the Z10, integrated in 2019 for CNET, and I just reread my review and I really liked it, but I didn't like it like this one, the Z40. And in 2015 I reviewed the first linear tube product, the Micro Zodal, which was basically a headphone amplifier. I really liked that. But this one, the Z40 Plus, it's a whole different beast. Oh, and the power rating, by the way, is, well, 51 watts per channel into 4 ohms, and 46, I like these numbers, 46 watts per channel into 8 ohms. So it's not that it's super powerful, but it kind of sounds that way. It has that kick to it that I really like. I popped the hood because I wanted to show you the inside of this beast. Look around, man. There is a lot of work that goes into building one of these amplifiers. They tell me it takes 7 days, 7 complete days, to build this amplifier and put it through its entire QC, and also give it 200 hours of burn-in time. So yeah, it's a major build. And you look around, you'll see, well, you won't see output transformers because this is a Zodal design. That's the David burning circuit. And I can't begin to explain how that works, so I'm going to give a link in the description below this video, and you can learn all about it. The look and feel of it is, you know, special. It doesn't look like anything else. It doesn't feel like anything else. And by the way, the knob feel and the whole touchy-feely part of using this product, it's such a well-crafted design. It has 5 inputs. Now I'm going to put up all the specifications. I'm just going to give you the highlights here. 5 inputs, 4 of them are RCA, 1 of them is XLR. It has stereo subwoofer outputs and a tape loop. You don't see those too much anymore. Up front is a headphone jack, actually 2 of them 6.3 millimeter headphone jacks, and the difference between the 2 is one is high output and one is low output. I almost only use the low output, and I had plenty of gain and plenty of power out of the low output jack. I used it with a bunch of different speakers over the course of the review, but namely the Pure Audio Project Duet 15, that was the main one, and also the Buchardt S400 Mark II, a couple other speakers, oh, and the Magnepan LRS Plus. Those are the main things, and the sources for the system were pretty direct. It was a Mola Tambaqui DAC, and a Jay's Audio CD transport, and a Blue Sound Node 2 for streaming, Qobuz, and Tidal, and the turntable was the Technics SL1200G, with an EMT cartridge. Now, this particular 40 that I had for review had the optional phono section, which handles moving magnet and moving coil cartridges, and does a phenomenal job. The price is $7,650. The only available finish is black. Now, LTA, linear tube audio, sells direct worldwide. And I know some people have a weird about that. They want a local distributor. But if there was a local distributor and then there was a local dealer, each of those entities, the distributor and the dealer, would have to have markups in the price. So it adds a lot to the cost. So the advantage of going direct is that the price is kept in line. This amplifier would be a lot more expensive if they had distributors and dealers. Now, my sample had EL34 tubes, new old stock Mullards, and the tube life for the way this amplifier operates is exceedingly long. They estimate 10,000 to 20,000 hours of life for these tubes, which is extraordinary because most amplifiers, 2,000 hours, 2,500 hours, that's pretty much all you're going to get. This one, because they run the tubes at lower current, and it extends the tube life considerably. And they also run a bit cooler than most tube amplifiers. Since it's sold direct, they do offer a 14-day return policy, and the warranty is for 2 years. As for the sound of the amplifier, well, this recording, which I have on CD and LP, but I just happened to be playing the LP, and it was Majeski, Martin, and Wood. And this is one of their best sounding recordings. This is one of their best recordings in general. But it was the bass that really stopped me in my tracks, because I'm thinking, this is a tube amplifier? Not a super powerful tube amplifier? Wow, because the bass had real punch to it, and just this connection. Really fast sounding bass, went nice and low. This is over the Pure Audio Project Duet 15. So the way this amplifier could control that 15-inch woofer was extraordinary. And then at the other end of the frequency spectrum, the treble was fast and clear and detailed, really airy, and just very refined sounding. So, and it also played quietly, really well, and when I played it loud at 90, 95 dB peaks, it held together, and it was just this sense of control that this amplifier was exerting over the Pure Audio Project Duet 15s. Really special. So I'm thinking, this does not sound like pretty much any other tube amplifier I've ever heard. It is, I would say, probably the best sounding bass I've heard out of a tube amplifier in this room. Yeah, I can't think of anything else I've ever had here for review or owned that did what this amplifier does on the bottom end. So I'm thinking, we're in for a good ride this time. Okay, then there's this Leo Kottke track, 8 Miles High. The song was originally done by the Byrds, but this is an all-acoustic version. It's really just him on acoustic guitar. And his voice, the older this guy gets, the deeper his voice goes, is so deep. He's kind of almost mumbling the song, but his fingers are flying over the strings. It's really impressive. And it was just the total, let's say, acoustic nature of the presentation. This not hi-fi, but more, closer to the sound of the real thing. If Leo was here in the room with me, that's kind of what I was getting out of the sound. So then I wanted to do a comparison. I wanted to compare the 40 Plus with my Past Labs XP30 preamp and also a First Watt F7 power amp on the Pure Audio Project speakers. And I was listening to Amy Winehouse live at the BBC. Now, a lot of the tracks aren't live at the BBC, but that's the name of the album. But anyway, some of the tracks with a big band, man, she had the best voice of anybody in her generation, male or female. I just connected emotionally with her in such a big way. It's such a loss. So anyway, I'm listening between the 40 Plus and the Past Electronics. And you know what happened? It was interesting that the Past, especially with the F7, sounded warmer and fleshier and bigger than the LTA amp did, than the 40 Plus. It's funny, it was like a reversal. Wait, this actually sounds more tubey. The Past stuff sounded richer and bigger and fatter with the F7. Now, most of that was the F7 because later on in the review, I'm going to tell you about using the XP30 preamp with an XA25 Pass amplifier. But for now, that's what I was listening to. And then when I returned back to the 40 Plus on Amy, it just lit up more. It had more life to it. She seemed like fresher, like a fresher take on that song, going from the past XP30, F7, first watt. Yeah, the 40 just had more life to it. Really, really interesting. And just the high frequency clarity and the horns and the brass and the transients, all that stuff were coming across better with the 40 Plus. Interesting. So then I moved on to Andrew Bird to listen to some quieter music, some acoustic stuff, guitars. And wow, again, on the Pure Audio project, the sound, the imaging was so precise. The left to right space. Yeah, this amplifier does spatial stuff so well, especially depth over these speakers. Now I'm going to get to the Buchardt S400 Mark IIs very soon. But over the Pure Audio project, the spatial qualities of the recording were really, laid bare. You could really hear into the soundstage with remarkable clarity. Just the precision of it was extraordinary. To continue, I wanted to do some more comparisons with the PASS Labs Electronics and the LTA 40 Plus. But this time I took out the first watt F7 and inserted in its place the PASS Labs XA25 and did some comparisons. And here's what I heard. First of all, it was a much closer contest. Both are highly resolving systems, sets of electronics, but the thing about the LTA is it has just more density to the sound, a little more, more palpability, it was more solid sounding than the XA25 with the XP30. Really interesting. Both had really nice top-end detail and clarity. Both had really powerful bass, but there was something about the 40 Plus's bass, let's call it slam for lack of a better word. Again, this is a tube amplifier doing this. Yeah. Again, the XA25 wasn't far behind, but if I'd give the nod to the 40 Plus. Yeah, I didn't see this coming. I'm just thinking, wow, there's something really special going on here. Now, the next speaker I tried was the Magnepan LRS. Now, this speaker is really a low sensitivity design, really hard to drive. Goes down, I think down to 2 ohms or something. A brutal test for any amplifier. Hooked it up, started listening, pretty quiet. It was okay. But as soon as I started to play it, medium loud and loud, it was like, no, I don't think so. I don't think the 40 Plus has quite enough juice on tap to make the LRS Plus do what it does so well. So in that contest, it was not a contest. The XA25 was a way better amp for the LRS Plus. Continuing with the Buchardt speakers, the S400 Mark IIs, I'm playing Greg Allman's album, his solo album, actually the last album he recorded. He died, I think, the same year it came out, 2017. And it's a gorgeous recording, but it's a sad recording. It's a man who knows he's nearing the end, and you just feel that coming out of the speakers. The vocal sound was extraordinary. Just so, Greg was right there. But it was the overall tone, and I mean emotional tone of the record, that just knocked me out. This combination of the 40 Plus and the Buchardt was magical. It just, yeah. But I'm saying if I had to distill it down to one thing that was really catching me, it was that body to the sound, which is kind of a tube thing, right? So as much as I say it doesn't really sound like a tube amplifier, it does the best part of the sound of a tube amplifier. It's got that. Hi-Fi Collective is in sort of heavy rotation around here. It's a funk record, but it's kind of trance, atmospheric. There's a lot going on, a lot of samples of different instruments. It's extraordinary, and the amount of deep bass on this recording is extraordinary. This will definitely make your woofers dance. So I decided to play it over the Buchardt S400s, which are, not very big stand mount speakers, but they do have passive radiators on their backsides, so they're a little more bass endowed than most. But anyway, I'm playing Hi-Fi Collective, cranking it, and again, The 40 Plus exceeded my expectations in terms of the control over the bottom end, not just getting sloppy or mushy or boomy or anything. No, it was holding together pretty darn well. Now, on this one, I will say, when I did it with the XA25 with the pass gear, yeah, I think the XA25 did a better job in terms of controlling the bottom end. But it wasn't a huge difference, although I would give the nod to the XA25 in this case, because this was tough stuff. My review sample was fitted with the optional phono input board, actually the one for moving coil cartridges, and it does have a built-in step-up transformer, very high quality step-up transformer. So I hooked up my Technics SL1200G turntable. It's fitted with an EMT TSD MRB moving coil cartridge. And I set about to play some records, and actually I was listening to most of the vinyl over headphones. And the first thing I noticed was how quiet it was. It was so, yeah, no noise here, but just made records sound quiet and just beautiful. And I was playing this one, Jethro Tull Stand Up. Now this is a pressing, this is an audiophile pressing, but from at least 20 years ago. Really good pressing. So yeah, the surfaces were quiet, but the music was alive. Very clean. It's though I say it's a solid state phono circuit, it still had that LTA sound, very controlled, very clear, very high resolution, great low end. I was digging it. So yeah, usually I don't recommend the optional phono boards or digital stuff. Just buy better stuff and use it with your integrated amplifier or preamplifier. But in this case, yeah, it's really good. Very, very impressive phono preamp. As for the headphone amplifier part of it, well, it is all tube. As a matter of fact, it's the same tubes that are driving the speakers, but just with resistors to stop you from blowing up your headphones. And I played two headphones, the MkII Empyrean, which I love. It's one of those headphones over time. I just love it more and more and more. And also the Dan Clark Audio Ether 2. Which is a headphone, I have so many headphones, I forgot about that one. I started playing it again thinking, it's really good and it's super comfortable. Both of these headphones are unusually comfortable because they're both planar magnetic, which means they tend to be heavy. But in both cases, super comfortable, great headphones. But I would say the Ether 2, the Dan Clark headphone, is the higher res headphone of these two. And playing records, it just seemed to open up. I just had that sense of the sound less inside my head with the same headphones, but here over the 40 Plus, that open quality. I just love when I get it with headphones. I don't want to feel like, well, this sound is crammed inside my noggin. I like when it's out there. We got a good handle on this now, right? But I'm still going to do, so Steve, what do you really think of the linear tube audio Z40 Plus integrated amplifier? Here's what I'm going to say that I haven't said up to this point. This might be the best integrated amplifier I've ever had in this room. Now, I don't like saying the best because I haven't had everything here to compare it against it, right? But just in terms of my feeling about this amplifier, how charged up I am about this amplifier, yeah, I think it is the best, Now, yes, 46 watts a channel or 51 watts per channel might not be enough for some people who really want to play really loud or have hard to drive speakers like the Magnepans. Yes, it's not a universal amplifier that's going to work for everybody. I'm not saying that. But with the right speaker, for the right person who isn't into super, super loud, like 100 dB party things, no, it's not going to do that kind of stuff. 50 watts a channel is 50 watts a channel. But within that limit, I would say this is such an extraordinary amplifier. And it may be the ideal amplifier for someone who's never had tubes, who's a little nervous about tubes. There's a lot of fussy stuff. This is pretty much a straight ahead design. It's auto biasing, which I didn't say before in the review. I should have. So when you get new tubes, you don't have to get out a meter or something to put in new tubes. You can just pop them in. It's not a biggie kind of deal. And you can do tube swapping, but the included tubes are really high quality. So yeah, this might be an amplifier for people who just want to get into tubes and have been on the fence for a while. But it's the overall package. And then there's the headphone amplifier, which is the cherry on top. I know not everybody's into headphones, but if you are, it's like you're getting a great amp for speakers and then a great amp for headphones. So that's part of it. That's all of that and more, and the phono preamp if you're into playing vinyl. It's fun, and it just feels good to use. It really does. Now, some people will say that the Apple remote, it is a metal Apple remote, but it's an Apple remote. Is it befitting an amplifier that sells for $7,650? Okay, you could quibble over that point. I would understand. I just used it. I didn't have any problem with it. So the other thing is I'm considering, we'll see, about asking LTA to send me just the power amp version of this. In other words, without the preamp part, without the headphones and all that other stuff, right? Just the power amp version of it, just to see how it clicks with the Pass preamplifier, the XP30. So that may be happening in a month or 2 or 3. We'll see how that flies. But for now, I will say, yeah, the LTA 40 Plus, Z40 Plus is a knockout. It's phenomenal. And with that, yeah, speaking of knockouts, it is now time for the Audiophiliac viewer system of the day. Today's system comes from JF. Those are his initials, he says, but you can call me Mr. Hitachi. He's 41 years old and he lives in Quebec, Canada. But his system is all Hitachi. Everything in the system is made by Hitachi. The speakers are HS90F. Those are flat diaphragm drivers. The speakers weigh 100 pounds each. The smaller set of speakers is HS40F. Preamp is an HMC 8500 Mark II. And the power amp is an HMA 8500 Mark II. It's a MOSFET Class A up to about 5 watts. The DAC is a Hitachi HDA 001. It's a 1984 resistor ladder multi-bit DAC. And this turntable is the HT 840. It's direct drive. Speaker cables and interconnects are also by Hitachi. That's what's in the picture, but JF also has 25 other Hitachi products. In Japan, they're known for audio. Outside Japan, not so much. But anyway, thanks, JF. Really interesting system. Okay, we are back. My name is Steve Guttenberg, and it's true. I am the Audiophiliac. And thank you for being here. Thank you for watching this far into the video. If you like what I'm doing here, and I have a feeling you do because you're this far in, please consider joining my Patreon. The address is on the screen right now. Patreon accepts payment in dollars, pounds, and euros. And the people that have been part of my Patreon for years and years and years, I can't thank you guys enough for doing that. Some of you I have conversations with every month, beginning of the month, and getting to know the people who are watching me, especially in depth over a period of years. It's just, wow. You don't get this if you write for magazines or websites, of having this kind of connection to the people who are, in this case, watching. So, man, I like my job. I love my job, I should say. So anyway, consider the Patreon. And you can also just like the videos, hit that like button for the ones that you like, and subscribe to the channel as we're inching closer to 225,000 subscribers. Oh, another big news is the podcast is back. The Audiophiliac podcast is back, but in a, let's call it, revised form, where I'm taking some of these episodes, the YouTube episodes, stripping out the audio and putting that up as a podcast that you can listen to on Apple Podcasts and Spotify and iHeartRadio and all the usual places that people listen to podcasts. So if you're into podcasts and you want to listen to me while you're driving or talking or whatever, that's how you can do it now. So check that out. I will link to it in the description below, my podcast, that is. And with that, I could say my work here is, at last, at last, complete. Again, thanks for watching. Hope you do come back real soon. Bye-bye.